20 years old, but of course सिर्फ उतना ही नहीं था. I was in love when I was 20 years old, and that love of my life is now my husband. So उसे मैं बताना चाहती हूँ कि सही आदमी है, शादी कर ले.
In celebration of the 4th edition of the Filmfare OTT Awards, I'm in conversation with a powerhouse actor. I use the word powerhouse extremely carefully when I interview celebrities, but in her case, it comes in spades. Why? Because you've seen her in Gully Boy, you've seen her in Bombay Begums, I have seen her in regional films like Astu in Marathi, I've seen her on the OTT circuit. So I think she's the perfect candidate for an interview today. Please welcome the one and only Amruta Subhash.
Hey.
Hello, Amruta.
Hi, Jitesh. Hi.
It's always, whenever I talk to you, it always seems like a session at the therapist. I divulge my innermost demons to you, and it's just so beautiful. But tell me, my first question to you would be, which is also my favorite question, what would you tell a 20-year-old Amruta Subhash if you had to meet her today?
If I have to use my own dialogue, it will be from my film Astu, which you just mentioned, in which my character Channamma continuously says, Irle beda konkolli beda. So she's a Kannadiga who doesn't know Marathi. So Irle beda konkolli beda matlab, theek hai, koi baat nahi. It's okay. It's okay. Astu. Theek hai. Because 20 years old, I was like, this is not correct, ye theek nahi hai, wo theek nahi hai, main theek nahi hu, world theek nahi hai. Like, that kind of a thing was happening, and ye bhi hai. But irle beda kunkolli beda would be, the thing which I would, yeah.
You're so unassuming off screen, but on screen you're like the word I use, powerhouse. Is there a process? Is there a craft to your acting?
Before the process, I think there is a vision which Nasir sir gave me. How deep you can go in a character. There has to be that vision, I think, and there has to be that urge. And then, of course, there's a process to it. But when I was in NSD, I was fortunate because Hiba was my batchmate. He came many times to teach us. So he told me कि कैरेक्टर को आप कितनी तरह से अप्रोच कर सकते हैं, एंड देन देयर इज नो एंड टू इट, फ्रैंकली. तो उससे ही मेरा एक प्रोसेस बनता गया है. देयर इज नॉट अ फिक्स्ड प्रोसेस बिकॉज ही ऑल्सो टोल्ड मी द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ बीइंग फ्लेक्सिबल ऑल्सो. व्हेन आई वाज यंगर, राइट नाउ यू सेड कि क्या एडवाइस होगा. व्हेन आई वाज यंगर, आई वाज वेरी रिजिड. आई विल प्रिपेयर एवरी रोल, एंड इफ द डायरेक्टर कम्स अप विद another thing, I'll be like, no, but I think it is this. So I was a bit scared, and that's why I closed, I would say. Now I'm more open. So wahan par bhi, like, you can tell me, Amrita, shall we try this? And I'll be like, yeah, let's try. So that is, I would say, it's a kind of freedom, that process has given me. And that process has been different for every character. Like you mentioned Bombay Begums. I met Reshma Appa in Kamathipura, who herself was a bar dancer. And then she taught me her kind of dance. It's not a normal, like, there are different kind of dances. So she said bar dancer का होता है बाल झटका, ऐसे बाल झटकना चाहिए कि पैसा गिरना चाहिए, आदमी का हाथ पैसे की तरफ जाना चाहिए, ऐसे बाल झटका. That is the yeah, and she did that, and she was 60 years old. वो नानी थी, उसका पोता वहाँ पे खेल रहा है, but the moment she just did this and she did this and she started doing that, she was someone else. And I was like, okay, so that so I'm open to this process. And for love stories too, when I worked with Konkana, it was again a different process because I've been fortunate to have characters which उनका एक mystery है हर character. Like, I don't understand them completely before I start playing them. I'm like, why is she doing this? Even Lily was like that. Even for that matter, Gully Boy, I was not being able to imagine before. मेरा बेडरूम मुझे खाली करना है because my husband comes with another woman and he's like कपड़े बाहर, and when it's Vijay Raj, you know how he does it. So like, I'm like, I would have just left him, yeah, go to, like, that is my reaction. But Razia is not like that. So all that, and because Zoya is also fire, no, she's tigress. So the tigress gone inside, even if you're looking like that, you're not like, oh,
Dukhiari.
So that process was different. उसका spine erect था even if she was helpless. आप helpless ऐसे भी हो सकते हो और ऐसे भी हो सकते हो ना. So that decision was again a different process there.
So how did you, I was very keen to know about love stories. I mean, was there any kind of method in the madness?
When Coco asked me for it, I'm like, I'm doing it. She said, you don't want narration? Coco just asked me that she's doing something. So I'm like, no, I'm doing it. She said, no, I want you to have a narration. Listen to that character, because she knew there'll be many intimate scenes and whatever. So there was COVID happening, so the narration was, of course, online. And Konkona being an amazing actor the narration was outstanding. And then I said, I'm doing it. I'm scared because I'm not getting her. कि ये क्या है, मतलब तब तक सब सही है, वो भी मैं इमेजिन कर लूँगी कि भाई मेरे पास स्पेस नहीं है, so me and my husband are doing it at Ishita's place. But after Ishita मुझे देखती है, उसके बाद उसका जो चेंज ओवर था सीमा का, you know, the way she just looks at her and the power, you know, that changeover was amazing in the script. And I said, I'm not understanding her there. Once we were rehearsing, Tilu told me a very nice thing. I was like, yaar, mujhe experientially, I can't understand कि somebody's, because I'm very, you know, संदेश का हाथ भी मैं सबके सामने पकड़ूंगी तो like I'll be like, hey, nobody's watching na, kind of a thing, like, you know. So I was like, I can't imagine that. So Tilu said, see, I'll give you an example. Suppose you're doing a play and you're rehearsing at Prithvi, and somebody tells you, you exit and somebody tells you Nasir sir has entered the rehearsal and he's in the audience. The next scene it'll be different for you, isn't it? Because he's sitting there, because he's your guru. I said, yes, Tilu. So she said, that is what is happening to Seema, that, you know, now I'm doing something special. I'm enjoying it because sir is watching.
She's an audience.
Asa. And then of course Coco was continuously with me. She understands the vulnerability, I would say. So that helped me, and I said, Coco, intimate scene ka practice hoga. And then she's like, okay. So I said, casting ka dekhte. Then Shrikant Yadav, whom you just mentioned, he's my old friend. Being good friends sometimes helps, but sometimes it is also, yaar, tere saath kaise karuga yaar, kind of a thing. So I told Coco, please, let's rehearse. Coco being Coco, she arranged a rehearsal in her bedroom, where Anand Bansal, by the way, amazing cinematographer. So he, Coco, me and Shrikant. I still remember this day. And whole day, we were just discussing, and because I wanted to have that equation with Shrikant where, you know, after so many years, you're not bothered about each other's bodies, right? There's that kind of an equation which I wanted with Shrikant. And that whole day, पहले 5 मिनट के बाद, like it, I said, ये position होगा, and then the way Coco was there, it all melted. And then I think we got that equation, and then बाकी का सब easier था, I would say. And about Tilottama, I was so fond of her already that I knew that हमारा chemistry work होने ही वाला है, because everyone was asking me कि आप क्या lesbians हो क्या, because there were 2 women. So I said no, फिर भी हम lovers हैं. What I was happy about was, after all this, I was like, let's see how people take it. The actor, I think, who has done the most intimate scenes in that love stories, सारे सबसे ज़्यादा sex scenes, but the way they were taken, you know, from even Maharashtrian audience who have seen me in different roles. Channamma is completely, you can't imagine she doing this, right? I mean, but they called me and they said, you know what, we saw this with her mother-in-laws and father-in-laws, and it was so dignified. Nice. So this process was that key, just to, you know, ये सब freedom, freedom, you know. And universe conspires. I remember one shot, जहाँ पे एक slow motion shot था, जहाँ पे Shrikant lifts my legs up, and this was not decided. जब वो shot लिया गया, by chance, one bird in slow motion वो ऐसे उड़ गया shot में. My legs going up and the bird also going up. So that was kind of a freedom I experienced, and for an actor, I think that is the most precious thing, yeah.
You mentioned Konkona. Interestingly, you worked with a lot of female directors, you know, Zoya, Konkona, Anjali Menon.
I started with Sumitra Bhave.
Oh, wow. Astu. Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, you worked with, is the feminine gaze different from the male gaze as a director? you feel any, or it's just a director?
I would definitely say that I've been fortunate to have worked with all these directors. But for me, it has been only a director kind of a thing, because as I have said earlier also, of course, Zoya has been a very special director for me, or for that matter, Alankrita, or right now, Coco. But at the same time, I have always said that Anurag has been equally open to my vulnerabilities. And my first intimate scene, in fact, I did with him. And I keep mentioning about this, that on that day I had my periods, and then he told his team that an actress should be asked about her periods while she's doing an intimate scene, because she won't feel like doing it. And then my period cycle was considered but this happened with Anurag also, like when. So I would say there is a sensitive director, and there is gender has not. And frankly, Anurag has made me free about so many inhibitions about myself, as like bodily also. I remember, some years back I had psoriasis. It's a skin disease, and sometimes it would be in my ears or on my neck, and it will be seen. So I had not tell any director. Afterwards, I started telling. Now it's not there, but I started telling कि ये दिख सकता है. So Alankrita was like, oh, fine. You're a human being. But for Anurag, I hadn't told him. And of course, the cinematographer, once there was Raman Raghavai, and cinematographer was also, of course, my friend. And they were discussing something, and I heard them discussing कि शायद वो दिख रहा था, whatever. And I heard Anurag saying, that's fine, she's my character, and that's completely fine. वही angle रहेगा. Keep the angle same. So, and then he didn't even come to me. I overheard he telling that cinematographer कि वो दिखने दे. And that gave me something about, because when an actor is facing a skin disease, there's a lot of shame connected to it, and oh gosh, is it looking, फिर makeup से करते ये करते. But that day changed something inside me. As I told you, I started with Sumitra Bhave, and she's the base of all of it, like Astu's director, Sumitra Bhave and Sunil Suptankar. I used to go back to her in every role. Like even when I was doing Razia in Gully Boy, I asked her कि, I can't imagine, जैसे मैंने आपको कहा कि like bedroom में कोई दूसरी औरत आएगी आए. So she said, yeah. So in Marathi there is a word karwadne. Karwadne is like, so I suggested Zoya that Sumitra Moshe told me कि karwadna, like that agony comes out on your children. So I suggested Zoya that in my entry scene, just that child was not there, the younger child. Murad is there, of course, but I said, can that child just pass, and I just hit him like, but what? Like all that agony is coming out on that child, because I can't do it on my husband. So these little things, know that the women directors, they know, because a woman mind sometimes it's so full of many colors, right? So these things, maybe, I don't know, but it came from a woman only, like such intricacies, like, and then that's fun to portray actually.
Also, I wanted to touch upon the issue of mental health, because we've talked about so much of this. How do you retain? It's not because of the intense kind of roles that you do, and we live in a make-believe world of social media, perception. How important is, I mean, like you said, Anurag said, lose your inhibition. Somebody said they helped you emotionally and mentally. Because this is a very grueling, crazy world.
Yes.
So to maintain sanity and maintain your mental health, like you yourself have spoken about therapy,
yes,
and all of that.
Yeah.
How important and how much has it helped?
There's a fantastic actor in Marathi, but because he was not been able to take the ups and downs, he just stopped acting. But he was one of the best actors I have seen. And the other day, I met him, and I said, see, when there is talent, there is utna hi vulnerability bhi hoga. Because the talent is connected with that vulnerability so closely. So वो छलकेगा, छलका, झलका रे, that would happen. You will spill over. Because वही छलकने से तो खेल रहे भाई, वही तो चल रहा है. But उस छलकने का जो balance है, that therapy has given me. And I was lucky यार, because as you said, series of doctors कई लोगों के साथ होता भी, because you need to have right kind of therapist, otherwise they can, it could be the other way around. So as I told you last time also, I think I was fortunate to have Mr. Vijay Tendulkar, great playwright of Marathi, and he has written Shantata Kot Chalu hai, of course, and many plays.
Amazing.
A legend. So I was fortunate to have him in my life, and when Priyatai passed away, Priya Tendulkar, because of cancer, he told me that he took therapy because, of course, he need, like, you know, it was a big tragedy. And when my father was having this Alzheimer's and he was becoming violent, I didn't know how to deal with it. And at that time, Tendulkar Sahab told me about therapy and he suggested, but of course, you need to be ready for it. Otherwise, it doesn't help you. But I was fortunate to have right kind of a therapist, right kind of a person. And then it has been a long journey, of course. It was my going back to my childhood also, because an actor is taking out from your own, his or her own life, emotions. So it is very important that you are connected with who you are. Many literate people have asked me, "Tum pagal ho kya therapy le rahe ho?" So I said, it's not as simple as that, you know. So we really need to be beyond this.
No, it's great. We are normalizing the conversation, because it's always, oh no, you must be mad. You know, those kind of silly things that people say. It's very good. A support system is always great. Having said that, let me finally ask you, among your gurus, Satyajiv ji and Nasir sir, what is the one lesson both of them have given you?
Being in that moment.
Nasir
It's
sir.
very important. No, it's very important for an actor. You know, you will prepare for a role. Ye, wo, history of the character, uska mind, ye, wo sab ho gaya. But if you come with that burden, and the same thing Gulzar Sahab also taught me. I remember that scene in Nirmala. He did this novel called Premchand's novel Nirmala, and I played Nirmala in that. So I remember one scene, I was not understanding the complications of that character's mind, and he told me many things. Can you imagine? वो छोटी है, उसकी शादी हुई है, whatever the character was, he told me many things, and then he said, अब ये सब भूल जाओ और शॉट दे दो. So this is what it is like. You have to just forget everything. And same thing Nasir sir had told me कि आप wings तक हो उस सब के साथ, wings में खड़े हो, like, you know, with the history of the character, this, that, whatever. But once you're on stage, it's that present moment, and what is it offering you, and what are you offering to that moment?
It was wonderful chatting with Amruta Subhash. We talked about mental health, we talked about movie roles, we talked about gurus, we talked about morphing into different roles. We had one hell of a blast. Stay tuned for the 4th edition of the Filmfare OTT Awards, and of course, catch us together.